Charlotte's request is to almost double their current allocation. They're going from 33 million gallons per day to 60 million gallons per day, which is obviously a 30 million gallons per day increase. To provide some background, in North Carolina since 1993, any large surface water transfer between river basins, and a large transfer would be 2 million gallons per day, requires a certificate from the Environmental Management Commission. And Charlotte was granted 33 million gallons per day in 2002 to withdraw from Lake Norman and Mountain Island Lake. Both are part of the Catawba River Basin and discharge into the Rocky River Basin. In 2005, Concord and Kannapolis petitioned for 24 million gallons per day from the Catawba and Yadkin rivers. But in 2007, they were only granted 10 million gallons per day from each river, thanks to the interested parties actually challenging and objecting to that petition. And at that time, new legislation was approved, which is pretty much the statute that we have now that puts all the requirements into the petition. So today, almost all local governments in the region have adopted resolutions opposing the transfer. You all adopted it on June 3rd. And the Western Piedmont Council of Government is the entity organizing the local governments in the region, and they have approved hiring an attorney. Her name is Ruth Levy, and lobbyists Chris Wall and Andy Munn with EQV Strategic to represent our interests. The next steps will be to consult with the lobbyists and the attorney to develop next steps. Charlotte Water's next steps will be to develop alternatives, perform IBT studies, and prepare environmental impact statements. So again, at this time, I'm requesting that the board approve an appropriation of $53,121 to support regional efforts to oppose Charlotte Water's proposed interbasin transfer.
And if you can give us a little background, if you can, I know Ms. Furtado has been very active in this, about how that number came up. I think it's an allocation based on a certain formula from different local governments.
Yes, sir. The number, excuse me, is partially derived from a proportional share of population. The other component of the formula has to do with the size of each jurisdiction's water and sewer budget. So it's 50% population based and 50% based on the size of the water and sewer enterprise budget.
The total amount, if you add everybody's up, is what?
I think it's $440,000 or thereabouts over 2 fiscal years.
So this would be, if we approve the amount for the first fiscal year?
Actually, it's the total amount across the 2 years, yes, sir.
Any questions on that?
I have a question. I don't know, Mr. Carter, if you explain that to me, but if you do, we'd be interested to know how that figure, that total figure, compares with the last time we did this. Do you know how much we spent last time?
So over the entire advocacy engagement, I guess, there was more funding spent than is currently being allocated. I think the coalition has come together around the notion of approaching this in a phased fashion. So these expense estimates would get us through the point where the Environmental Management Commission would make a decision on the permit modification request. If the coalition decides that after that decision there is still further action to be taken, then that would likely result in an additional assessment that would be put together at that time. So this should last us through EMC decision in 2026.
Very good, thank you.
Yes,
I think we also have more people involved with this system as we did last time.
I'm not sure, I can't speak to that, but I do know that some additional counties that are, like McDowell County, has committed to participate, and that is different than the last time. And some of the smaller local governments have also committed to fund expenses.
Any other questions?